Để học hiệu quả hơn, bạn hãy tìm link tải file PDF đầy đủ của bài học ở phần bình luận. Nếu chưa thấy link, hãy để lại bình luận yêu cầu để mình gửi thêm tài liệu. File PDF không chỉ là phần nội dung mở rộng, mà còn là tài liệu giúp bạn luyện tiếng Anh có hệ thống hơn. Sau đây là nội dung tóm tắt bằng tiếng Việt. Sau giờ học, một đứa trẻ ngồi ở bàn và vẽ một nhân vật hoạt hình bằng bút chì màu. Nhân vật được đặt tên là Bo Bo và có đôi giày đỏ, đôi mắt to và nụ cười thân thiện. Trong trí tưởng tượng của đứa trẻ, Bo Bo có thể nói chuyện và sống bên trong tờ giấy. Tờ giấy trở thành một thế giới nhỏ với sông, đồi, chim và một ngôi nhà kẹo. Bo Bo hỏi đứa trẻ về trường học và lắng nghe rất chăm chú. Bo Bo cũng dạy đứa trẻ rằng một bức vẽ không cần phải hoàn hảo. Một đường cong vẹo có thể trở thành một phần của một câu chuyện đẹp. Đứa trẻ cảm thấy vui vẻ và tự do khi vẽ. Khi đến giờ ăn tối, đứa trẻ đặt bức vẽ vào trong quyển vở. Đứa trẻ biết rằng Bo Bo sẽ sẵn sàng cho một cuộc phiêu lưu khác vào ngày mai.
After school, I came home with my backpack still heavy on my shoulders. The afternoon sun was soft, and the light touched my desk like warm honey. I put my books aside and took out a small box of colored pencils. Inside the box, the pencils were short, sharp, and full of bright possibilities. I chose a yellow pencil first because I wanted to draw a happy face. Then I picked blue for the jacket, red for the shoes, and green for a tiny backpack. At first, the character was only a simple circle, 2 eyes, and a smile. But the more I drew, the more alive the character seemed to become. I gave the character big, curious eyes, messy hair, and a brave little pose. I named the character Bobo because the name sounded funny and friendly. Bobo stood on the paper with one hand raised, as if saying hello. I smiled and whispered, "Hello, Bobo," even though I knew it was just a drawing. For a moment, the room became very quiet. Then, in my imagination, Bobo blinked and looked up at me. "Why did you make my shoes so red?" Bobo asked. I laughed softly and answered, "Because red shoes help you run faster." Bobo nodded proudly, as if that answer made perfect sense. Suddenly, the white paper was no longer just paper. It became a small world with hills made of erasers and rivers drawn in blue pencil. Bobo walked across a bridge made from a ruler and waved at tiny birds in the sky. I drew a candy house beside the river because Bobo needed somewhere to rest. I also drew a tall tree with stars instead of leaves. In that world, the sun could smile, clouds could sing, and pencils could become magic tools. Every color I added changed the story in a new way. When I colored the sky purple, evening arrived in Bobo's world. When I added orange dots, fireflies appeared above the grass. Bobo sat under the star tree and asked me what school was like. I told Bobo about homework, loud bells, friendly classmates, and boring math problems. Bobo listened carefully, as if my ordinary day was an exciting adventure. Then Bobo told me about the paper world. In that world, unfinished lines were roads waiting to be discovered. Empty spaces were not mistakes, but places where new stories could begin. I liked that idea very much. Sometimes, I felt afraid when my drawings were not perfect. But Bobo said, "A crooked line can still become a mountain path." Those words made me feel lighter. I stopped worrying about making the picture perfect. Instead, I let my hand move freely across the page. I drew a balloon shop, a moon lake, and a train that traveled through clouds. Bobo jumped into the train and invited me to come along. Of course, I could not really enter the paper. But in my mind, I sat beside Bobo and watched the purple sky pass by. The world inside my drawing felt small, but it also felt endless. When my mother called me for dinner, the real room returned around me. My colored pencils were still on the desk, and Bobo was still smiling on the paper. I carefully placed the drawing inside my notebook. Before closing it, I whispered, "Good night, Bobo." In my imagination, Bobo waved and said, "Come back tomorrow." That afternoon, I learned that drawing was more than making shapes and colors. It was a door to a private world where ideas could speak. It was also a quiet way to understand my own feelings. Whenever I opened my notebook again, Bobo was waiting for another adventure.
Sau đây là các từ vựng cần lưu ý.
Possibility, curious, imagination, blink, proudly, ruler, firefly, unfinished, crooked, adventure.
Sau đây là các câu hỏi để luyện nói.
Question 1. Can you describe a time when you drew, made, or imagined a character that felt special to you? Question 2. Why do you think children often imagine that toys, drawings, or cartoon characters can talk? Question 3. How can drawing help people relax, express feelings, or become more creative after a busy day?
Sau đây là các câu hỏi để luyện viết.
Question 1. Write about an afternoon when you did something creative after school or after work. Question 2. Imagine that one character from your drawing suddenly became alive and talked to you. Question 3. Do you think mistakes in art can become part of something beautiful and meaningful?
Cảm ơn bạn đã xem hết. Theo dõi kênh và fanpage để nhận bài học mới và tài liệu học nhé. Hẹn gặp lại ở nội dung tiếp theo.